Hey guys, today we're going to talk about something huge. President Trump's new executive order, which will very likely affect our Second Amendment rights. This order directs the new Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to review every single Biden-era decision, as well as any open cases that the U.S. government is involved in that affect our Second Amendment rights. Now, don't get excited. It doesn't mean we're all going to be walking around with machine guns on the streets. However, it will affect our rights, and probably in the positive. We'll also talk about a 20-year-old named Nick who made one of the worst decisions of his life in trying to sell an AK-47 to an undercover cop. So, buckle up. Let's dive into it. Welcome to the G-Spot, where we talk about true crime, actual criminal cases, straight from my own case files. I've been a criminal defense lawyer for 29 years, and I got stories. So sit back, relax, and welcome to my world. Look, the ATF and the DOJ have been after individual gun rights for many years. It really seems like they're trying to disarm the population entirely. I mean, do they really think that disarming law-abiding citizens is going to lower gun crime? I think it's a bit naive to think that way. I mean, think about it, right? If they disarm you and me, who's going to be left with guns? The criminal, right? Do you think gangbangers and the like are going to abide by regulations which require them to turn in their weapons? Of course not. It's literally going to be a field day for them. Open season on law-abiding citizens who are now disarmed. You know, just imagine if you are a criminal, you're a gangbanger, you want to rob somebody, let's say, and you know that that person doesn't have a gun, doesn't have a weapon that can go bang. He's literally ripe for the taking. You know, predators look for easy prey, and at that point you become an easy prey. But what if this criminal that's about to break into a house thinks in the back of his mind that maybe, just maybe, that particular house has a surprise waiting for him that goes bang? What if that guy that this criminal wants to attack on the street has a CCW, a concealed carry permit? That's a hell of a deterrent. Plus, I don't know about you guys, but I want a chance to be able to defend my family against these types of attacks. Yeah, you may be strong, maybe you do boxing and jiu-jitsu and all that stuff, right? And maybe you can take out one guy, two guys, three guys. After that, it's real hard, especially if they have weapons. And that's where guns come in. They're a great equalizer. Plus, the Second Amendment gives us these rights. You may think that cops are going to protect us. All I need to do is dial 911. Well, first of all, have you seen the average wait time on a 911 call? It's longer than you want, believe me. Plus, cops cannot be everywhere in time. They usually come after the fact to mop up the scene. So you need to be able to rely on only one thing, yourself. And that's where guns come in. They're not scary. They don't bite. They don't go bang on their own. Learn how to use them. It's just a tool. So let's take a look at some of the things that our government has been regulating as it relates to the Second Amendment. First of all, we have the FFLs. These are federally licensed gun dealers, gun shops. There's something called a no tolerance, a zero tolerance policy when it comes to these businesses. Any mistake, any little thing that you don't do exactly as you're supposed to, your business is going to get closed down. Now, I would think that they're really trying to get rid of these gun stores and conversely to disarm the population. I mean, why else would there be zero tolerance for administrative mistakes? Then we have pistol braces. First, they're allowed, then they're not allowed, then again they're allowed, again not allowed, going back and forth, back and forth. Law-abiding citizens that want to get a pistol brace cannot, because today it's legal, tomorrow it's not, then it's legal again. I mean, it's really confusing, and it's absolutely unnecessary, unless your intent is to confuse. What else do we have? Silencers, right? That's the popular term. We've all seen James Bond movies, spy movies, where they take a pistol and they screw on this cylinder at the end of it, and all of a sudden you can't hear any of the shots. Well, that's only in the movies, and that's why they're called silencers. In the movies, they're not really silencers, they're suppressors. What they do is they drop the decibel level by a certain amount, so you don't kill your ears when you go and practice. But really, they don't silence any gunshots. You're not going to be crawling through a house, killing people without anybody noticing. It's a misnomer, okay? Now, these things are regulated as well, because they're considered as something that would make you, more deadly, I would assume. Honestly, it just saves your ears. What else do we have? Felons. If you're a felon, you may not own any firearms, right? Okay, I understand the logic when it comes to violent felons, okay? Can we trust them with a firearm after they've been convicted, and even after they serve their time? I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not. I think it should be examined on a case-by-case basis. But people with other felonies, felonies that have to do with finances, right? These people are not violent. Why take away their gun rights? They're convicted, they serve their time. They should have a right to protect their families just as much as we do. What about 18 versus 21-year-olds, right? The question is whether 18-year-olds can purchase a pistol or a rifle versus 21-year-olds, etc. Well, look, we send 18-year-olds to fight our wars. We trust them with that, but we don't trust them to buy pistols. A lot of these rules are very arbitrary, and the logic is very, very thin. And this executive order basically directs Pam Bondi to re-examine all of these rules and all of these regulations and come up with something reasonable, right? The other thing that the order directs her to do is to look at any open cases. So let me give you an example of what I mean. A few years back, there was a decision in New York called the Bruen decision, the Bruen case. And there, the court made a decision that the old test of balancing individual's right to have a firearm versus a state interest should not be used. Why? Because the interest of the state always prevails. What should be used is a history and tradition test. Okay? Was this done in the past? A regulation or a law? Have we done similar things sometime in the past when this country was being formed? And so under that test, a lot of these state regulations controlling individual gun rights are not allowed. There's a case out of California called Miller v. Bonta. Now this particular case, it's a federal case. This particular case is out of San Diego. The judge overseeing the case is Judge Benitez. And a lot of people in the gun community call him Saint Benitez because he advocates for Second Amendment rights. He made a decision that the California assault weapon ban is unconstitutional. The case went up to the Ninth Circuit, went back down to him, went back up to the Ninth Circuit, and it keeps bouncing. So there's no final decision yet. Hopefully it'll reach a final decision sometime soon. However, what I'd like to talk to you about is the California assault weapon ban itself and whether it makes any sense at all. So let's look at it. We're talking about Penal Code Section 30515. And that states that a semi-automatic centerfire rifle that does not have a fixed magazine but has any of the following is an assault rifle. Okay? So let's look at the first part, right? A semi-automatic center-fired rifle. What does that mean? Semi-automatic means one pull of the trigger produces one bullet out of the barrel. It's not automatic where you depress a trigger and hold it and the rifle goes multiple bullets. It's one pull, one bullet. Nothing more, nothing less. That's semi-automatic. What we're talking about here are regular rifles, right? And these rifles, a lot of them, have removable magazines. So after you empty the magazine, you press a button, the magazine falls out, you slap another one in, re-rack it, boom, you're ready to go. Okay? That's a semi-automatic rifle. It can be a hunting rifle. There are a lot of those with these features. It can be an AR-style rifle or an AK-style rifle or some others that are similar to the AR or the AK platform. Now, what makes these rifles an assault rifle, an assault weapon? Well, let me tell you. It has to have one of the following characteristics. Just one, and it becomes an assault weapon. So, a pistol grip that protrudes beneath the action of the weapon. What's a pistol grip? Well, imagine a traditional hunting rifle, right? It's made out of wood, can be out of plastic, but let's say the stock is wooden, and your hand holds the stock, and you can reach the trigger with your finger, okay? That's a traditional hunting rifle. Now, an AK or an AR type rifle, they have a vertical grip, like a pistol grip on the bottom. So you're holding the rifle not like a traditional rifle, but more this way, with your hand vertical, like a punch, like a fist. So that's a vertical pistol grip. If you have that on your rifle, under California law, that rifle automatically becomes an assault weapon. You can also have a thumb hole stock. So imagine that hunting rifle with a hole in the stock itself, which allows you to put your thumb through, which effectively makes this into a pistol grip. A folding or telescoping stock. So the stock itself, the butt of the weapon that braces against your shoulder, you can lengthen and shorten it, okay? If it has that, it's an assault weapon. Well, let's think about that for a second. If I'm 6'5", and my body is 5 feet tall, don't you think there's a difference in size? Of course there is. And a weapon that's good for a 5 feet tall person is not going to be comfortable for somebody who's 6'5". And so an adjustable stock, I think, is absolutely necessary, right? Having a pistol grip, do you think that makes that weapon more deadly than a regular hunting rifle? I don't think so. I'm just as accurate with a hunting rifle as I am with an AK or an AR. In fact, I think I'm more accurate with a hunting rifle that does not have a pistol grip, simply because it's a hunting rifle. Then they have something called a flash suppressor, right? That's a little thing that goes on the end of the barrel that suppresses flash. Now, why? Well, I think the idea is that you don't want to make the shooter invisible when they shoot at dusk or at night. Well, the flash suppressor is not going to kill the flash entirely. It's going to suppress it a little bit. You can still see the barrel go boom, with fire coming out of it with a flash suppressor or not. Maybe less, but it's still visible. And there's also something called a forward pistol grip. That's a little grip that goes under the front of the gun to be able to control the nose of it, right? So when you shoot, the rifle goes up a little bit. The front pistol grip allows you to control the nose of the rifle. Again, does that make me more deadly? I highly doubt it. These are all very arbitrary in nature. And so when this was examined in Miller v. Bonta, this particular statute was determined to be unconstitutional. So hopefully our new Attorney General reviews all of these statutes and her determination trickles down to the state level, including California. Because as it is right now, all of these regulations are very, very arbitrary, confusing, and very unnecessary. So let's talk about Nick. This kid is 20 years old, a little overweight, lives with his parents, plays video games, and he decided that his career is going to be as a gunsmith. He wants to work on guns, wants to repair them, modify them, etc. And so Nick found a job at a local gun shop. His favorite weapon is a 1911 pistol, but not the run-of-the-mill ones. The 1911s are very expensive usually, and the run-of-the-mill 1911 can cost you around $1,000. He wants something very expensive, something north of $3,000-4,000. And for that, he started to collect money. He had an old AK-47 that was left in the family for decades. I think it was his uncle that passed away, left it to his sister, the mom, who had it at the house. Well, Nick decided to sell the AK. Bone stock AK-47 with a pistol grip, with a vertical pistol grip. Guess who responded to Nick? Of course, an undercover police officer. They wrapped him up, charged him with possessing an assault weapon, and the initial offer for a kid with no criminal history was 3 years in state prison. 3 years in state prison. I literally had to sit down for that one. I mean, I looked at the prosecutor and I said, you gotta be kidding me. 3 years. This kid is like a newborn. He's got no violations. What are you guys doing? Well, it comes from the top. It is what it is. Politics, Anyway, we end up going to the preliminary hearing. Now, what's a prelim? That's a hearing designed to weed out cases that should never have been filed. So, for example, if there's a bank robbery down the street, right? And the description of the bank robber is somebody who's wearing a black polo, like I am here. And the cops see me walking down the street 10 blocks away wearing this polo, and they arrest me for the bank robbery. At the preliminary hearing, my case would be dismissed. Because at the preliminary hearing, the prosecutor needs to show the judge that I probably committed that crime, committed the bank robbery. And just having the same color shirt and type shirt as the bank robber doesn't cut it. So at the preliminary hearing, the prosecutor needs to show probable cause, needs to show that Nick, in this situation, probably committed that crime, committed the crime of being in possession of an assault weapon. And in order to do that, the prosecutor brought in an expert witness. Now, this guy is a gun instructor, shooting expert with the LAPD. So he takes the stand and he starts describing the law, what is an assault weapon, etc., etc., etc. And, this was an AK-47, a very scary weapon. Oh, my God. So when my turn came to ask him questions, I looked at him and I said, officer, what is the difference in functionality between an AK-47 and a hunting rifle of a similar caliber? He said, well, I'm not sure I understand the question, etc., etc. once I refined it for him, his response was, well, they're very similar. I go, isn't it true that the only difference in functionality between an AK-47 that my client was arrested with and a hunting rifle of the same caliber, similar caliber, is that the AK-47 has a vertical pistol grip and the rifle does not. He agreed with me. He said, yeah, you are right. That is the only major difference, the only material difference. Like, okay. So, if I were to remove the pistol grip from the AK-47, would it still be an assault weapon? He said, no. If I were to slap a pistol grip onto a hunting rifle, would it make it an assault weapon? He said, yeah, it would. So the only difference that we're talking about is that pistol grip. That little plastic doohickey is going to cost my client, my 20-year-old knucklehead, 3 years of his life. You got to be kidding me. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I went to see the head prosecutor. We sat down. I laid everything out for him, explained to him my position, told him that Nick is a first-time offender, if you can call it even an offense. This is a technicality. These rules are arbitrary, etc., etc. And he agreed with me. Nick ended up getting diversion. We talked about diversion in a different video. His case got diverted from the regular track. He did some community service, and the entire case got dismissed, as it should have been. In fact, it should never have been filed in the first place. So, hopefully, this executive order gets rid of this nonsensical law and puts some common sense into this situation, into these regulations. So let me know what you guys think about the assault weapon ban and Second Amendment in general. I think it's a very interesting topic. Let's talk about it. Next time, we're going to discuss a very interesting case as well. So tune in. I'm Mr. G. This is my spot. And these are my stories.